we typically try to sell our properties or our investments in about 3 to 5 years. And so we've done that 5 times, our iterations now. So very rare in our space, but it's, like I said, follows the same footprint as what we do in the multifamily space. Private equity backed company, small, kind of nimble, where we all kind of wear a lot of different hats. And so I really like that piece of it, because it makes every single day different and exciting. But then there's also keys that W-2 helps support what my goals and dreams are for real estate. And so being able to do side by side for as long as possible is only going to help that and expand that even quicker.
Welcome to the How to Scale Commercial Real Estate Show. Whether you are an active or passive investor, we'll teach you how to scale your real estate investing business into something big.
Shane Brooks is a Colorado native working in Houston as a project engineer for a midstream company while also running a syndication company focusing in Colorado, Texas, and Oklahoma. Shane, welcome to the show.
Appreciate you having me on, Sam. It's a pleasure to be on.
Hey, man, pleasure's mine. 3 questions I ask every guest who comes on the show. Where did you start? Where are you now? How did you get there? Oh, and one more caveat before you answer that. It has to be 90 seconds or less.
All right, I'll try to make it quick. So, born and raised in Colorado. Got an engineering degree from Fort Lewis College. Found out pretty quickly during college I didn't want to pay campus housing, and so started a house hack right out of school in a little townhouse with my brother and girlfriend at the time, who's now my wife. And so that's really where it initially began, and kind of always had that real estate bug. And so now I'm 29 years old. Been married about 3.5 years. We've got living in Houston now, but a lot of my initial growth investing was in Durango, kind of a small mountain town area, and then into a syndication space where right now we're the one deal we have in a contract will put us at 152 units, about $15.5 million under assets under management, and then also a limited partner in about 494 units in Texas.
That's fantastic. What? Tell me about how have you balanced working a W-2 job and also launching a syndication company? And I guess inside of that, the follow-up question to that would be, if you figured out early, house hacking right out of school, why didn't you just stick with it?
Yeah. So I'll start with the first part. Coming out of school is I knew I've always been a numbers guy, financial guy. And so I knew that made a lot of sense, but I didn't know a lot of the metrics behind real estate and how to actually run that properly. So looking back, there's definitely some things I would have done differently, but at least got me into the space. And so I think just educating myself, it really didn't come till I would say early 2020, basically right when the pandemic hit. Is when really kind of took off and started self-educating myself and scaling at that sense. So it's been a lot of scaling here recently, but it's all knowledge-based, and I would have done a lot of things differently if I could have. But in terms of balancing, I think part of it goes to the pandemic itself. It's been somewhat of a blessing there. So we started a hybrid schedule with my W-2 job. And then during the height of the pandemic, we were actually working from home for about 7 months. And so working from home, you don't have that hour commute into town. You don't have the hour commute back. So you kind of get a lot more time efficiency. And with that, it's like, well, I need something to fill my time, and I don't want to be watching TV immediately when I get done with the workday. So started just diving into real estate more, podcasts, reading every kind of book that I could to just fill my space to utilize that time more efficiently. So that's really how it started. And so we're, like I said, we're on a hybrid schedule still, where we're doing Mondays and Fridays from home. And so I kind of have taken advantage of that. And the times that I'm not in my W-2 space, it's all that efficiency goes right to real estate.
Gotcha. What is, or how have you scaled this? You're now part of Wild Oak Capital. I mean, how did you discover your partners? How did you guys figure out who's going to do what? How did that process happen?
Yeah, so it's actually a pretty organic operation. So I started, my mindset was always kind of do things quickly on my own. So really didn't have a partnership mindset to begin with. So I was doing a lot of off-market deals, looking at different kind of creative ways to get into the space in Durango. So Durango's a fairly expensive market. So not something you can just go on the MLS and buy something on, and not a lot of multifamilies that are just sitting out there. So I realized that small multifamilies was my best option in town. And so I really started getting creative and just doing a lot of different transactions there, and which placed me in Durango, I think 6 or 7 different times throughout that year, even though I was in Houston. So every time I'd be back in town, it almost made there was a real estate meetup here in town. And every time I was here, it was like that same day I was here. So I just made it a point to go see what everyone else was doing, just be a part of that meetup. And after I was kind of there for, I think, 3 or 4 in a row, the host of that meetup, it was actually Eric Nelson, who's my business partner now. He reached out, loved kind of my story, what I was kind of doing, sawing what I was proficient in, which is really the numbers, underwriting, deal sourcing, that side of things. So he actually asked me to be kind of a contract person to help them get caught up on their underwriting, since they had just started, him and another partner of ours, a syndication space in Oklahoma. And so they were getting a few deals kind of in place. They built the broker relationships, but they couldn't keep up with the inflow that was coming in, because they were still working their W-2s as well. So
Right.
That's how I got at least hooked up with them. We realized really quickly that it was a great partnership. And so we created a group there, and then actually brought our 4th investor on, or our 4th partner on, to kind of help with asset management, processes and procedures. So a lot of the back office kind of stuff, to round out our group of 4.
That's awesome. Talk to me about the contract underwriting side of things, that you use those 2 words together. And I want to kind of hear, maybe for our listeners, how you went into that initially to add value to these guys. It doesn't sound like you went into it with this idea that, hey, we'll be partners someday.
Yeah, I really, looking at apartments, I never even had it in my mind as like, we could be a part owner of that. We could be in this space. And so the large multifamily space was never on my mind, but I knew what I was really good at. And so it was almost like a weekly amount that my business partner, Eric, was willing to pay to kind of get help caught up into the space. And it was his idea. I didn't reach out, I didn't know what they were looking for exactly. But I kind of took it as an opportunity. It's like, yeah, I know enough in this space. It intrigues me, and I think I can really excel. And so I kind of just took that opportunity. It was more of a handshake contract basis, but like I said, it turned really quickly into something that we knew we could form down the road. And we took all the kind of same precautions. So we did a few things. What I would definitely recommend to your listeners too is we did kind of interviews with both Eric and our other partner that was already in the group. So we did multiple interviews just to kind of make sure that our goals aligned, that we had kind of similar opportunities of what we were wanting to do, but they also had our specifics that we were good at, and we could kind of piggyback off of the other partners in the group. And then we actually did a small deal in Lubbock, Texas together, just as the 3 of us, to really gauge how we operated together. And it was 3 duplexes. So wasn't a huge burden on the capital side, but it really kind of helped put in place where each other was strong and proficient at, where we wanted to focus, and then helped us really solidify that we wanted to form a group together.
That's really, really cool. Yeah, I love the idea of starting small and really getting the kinks worked out. I mean, that's certainly a valuable way to go about it. And then, doing contract underwriting is that's an interesting way to get in, because I've not heard of a lot of people. I know that there's contract underwriters out there. There are people that, hey, I get emails all the time. People saying, hey, I'll help out with underwriting for a fixed fee per deal, whatever it is. But bringing that skill set to the table, is there anything else you would recommend that people do if they are out trying to form a partnership, or if they are looking at their skill set saying, what can I bring to the table? What's a good way to go out and really find other people to partner with?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And I think really just doing your due diligence. So if there's someone that you're really interested in, maybe they're a level above you that you're really wanting to learn from and maybe partner with, or at least get into that circle, would be do your research to figure out what they need. A lot of these operators, they may have an area that they're lacking or they may need help on, but they don't maybe know it right off the top of their head. And they get asked that all the time. You're going to hear that people get asked, how can I add value to you? Where the people that actually stand out is people that come to you and say, hey, I've been following you. I've seen some of the properties or projects you've been doing. This is where I think that you're maybe lacking, or this is maybe where I can kind of help in and take something off your plate. But if you do that initial research, show them that you're committed, you're going to be way more successful to kind of get into their loop and have them kind of get some feedback into whether that's a partnership or at least getting into that space to kind of breach their circle and see where they're going at.
Right.
So that'd be the biggest part for me.
Got it, man. That's absolutely fantastic. Let's talk about your W-2. How long are you going to work that, and what's the long-term plan?
Yeah, so I've been at my W-2 for about 8 years. Actually, same company I got on with right out of college, and great company. I mean, love everything that I do there. And so that's really why I've run both of these side by side for so long, and plan to continue that. It's a great company. It actually acts very similar to a syndication in the real estate game. So we do the same type of process where we'll go into kind of an underdeveloped area and really build these midstream assets, operate them, get them stabilized, staff them, and then we'll operate for a while until we put them on the market to sell. And so we typically try to sell our properties or our investments in about 3 to 5 years. And so we've done that 5 times, our iterations now. So very rare in our space, but it's, like I said, follows the same footprint as what we do in the multifamily space. Private equity backed company, small, kind of nimble, where we all kind of wear a lot of different hats. And so I really like that piece of it because it makes every single day different and exciting. But then there's also keys that W-2 helps support what my goals and dreams are for real estate. And so being able to do side by side for as long as possible is only going to help that and expand that even quicker.
As a limited partner, how have you gone and found the people that you wanted to invest with yourself?
Yeah. So a couple ways would be podcasts and meetups or conferences. And so I listen to a lot of different podcasts, and if there's a guest that kind of comes on that I connect with, maybe they've got a similar story, or maybe they're doing a little bit bigger deals in my area. There's one of my focuses is being in Houston. I wanted to find an operator that was very transparent. I wanted to see what they were kind of doing, being allowed maybe on the properties, being a little more involved as a limited partner, and not just to invest as a limited partner, but to also take their knowledge and be able to apply that to our business to make our syndication company even better. So I really wanted to focus on someone local that I could visit, and then someone that was transparent and open about what they're doing so we could share and kind of enhance our business as well. So a couple of those they've been from podcasts. I've reached out. Obviously, they always leave their contact information, and I would say 95% of the time you're going to get a response if you reach out to someone on a podcast.
That's for sure. That's a great tip. I mean, there's so at the end of this, obviously, you'll get a chance to leave your contact info, and usually people give you a direct line on a podcast that says, "Hey, this is exactly, if you want to get straight to me, here's how you do it," which I think is really a cool way to do things. Tell me something you're curious about right now.
So curious on my end is really some of the larger deals that larger value add multifamily complexes in some of these Texas markets that are outside of your main cities. And so right now our focus has really been about 30 units to 125 units for various different reasons, but really wanting to break into that next larger space. And so that's our curiosity is really peaked so far there to really understand some of the nuances that are different from the smaller complexes into the larger, and some of the challenges we had to overcome to be able to take some of those projects down. So I try not to get the shiny object syndrome because you could go down that path really quick. But right now, I think, at least on a focus level, that's where our curiosity lies.
Fantastic. What's a book you're reading right now?
A lot of different books. We actually have a little kind of book club in our group just to make sure, keep us accountable for always kind of expanding. But Raising Capital by Hunter Thompson is one that we're focusing on right now. Is capital is a huge part of this business, and that book is an amazing book. Obstacles is the Way is another one, which is a huge mindset piece. So those are two probably currently that we're focused on.
Love it. I love the book club inside your little group. That's always learning is absolutely critical to success. So fantastic. Shane, I've enjoyed this. Thanks for taking the time to come on today. If our listeners want to get in touch with you or learn more about you, what is the best way to do that?
Yeah, so our group is called Wild Oak Capital. We also have a podcast as well, The Real Estate Mindset. We focus a lot on mindset. And then a big part of our business is education. We love to teach and kind of bring that knowledge to others. No charge at all on our end. We love talking about real estate. So anything that we can share, we'll love to do so. So wildoakcapital.com is our website. You can reach me directly at shane@wildoakcapital.com. Or even on my cell at 970-759-6039. And would love to connect with any of your listeners and help out in any way we can.
Thanks, Shane. Have a great day.
Yeah, thanks, Sam.